Welcome back to Let's Play Windows Photo Viewer. Well, not really. This is just to select the next route for Let's Play Katawa Shoujo. So, we finally cleared Emmy's route, which leaves us with, picking the next route. So I've taken her image out of the folder so that we've only got these ones. So now we've got to choose from Hanako, Lily, Rin, Shizune, and Kenji. But which one will it be? That is what will be found out now. Eyes closed. 10-second countdown. Or just countdown from 10. It doesn't have to be in seconds. So let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. It's Rin! Well, how about that? So we go like, well, she is 1 over... Well, as Abby said, she didn't really have all that many friends, but Rin is obviously one of them, so we're going with Rin's next. Well, let's do this then. I will be a moment as I set up the visual level. And we're back! Let's begin anew. Route again. Even though we've only gone through Emmy's route so far. You know, actually, Hisao has his own one here. I wonder if that one increases at all. Because he obviously doesn't have his own route, because he's the main character. But, you know what, a second. I haven't actually got the walkthrough up. Okay, then. Let's begin. An old familiar scene, actually. What button does speed up the dialogue anyway? Skip mode? Yeah, good. So we can, stop this by clicking on it. But continue. I mean, this scene is very long, after all. I really need to see it the one time. It's just to build up. It's just like, hey man, so Hisao, he had a heart attack. The way I said it makes it seem so casual, but that's what happened. And he ended up in hospital for months, and then eventually decided that he should be sent to a school for the disabled. Essentially, he was not initially happy with that, but as the routes tend to show, he generally comes to accept it. So then he introduced himself as normal. We'll go through these scenes again, inevitably, in all characters' routes, because as I said, I will for each route, well, I haven't actually said that yet, have I? But with every character route, I'll kind of skip through scenes in the common route, which is Act 1, that don't involve the scenes of anything to do with the character whose route we're going for. So in this case, if we were doing Shizune's route, we wouldn't be skipping through this. I'd actually be paying attention to it. But since we're going for Rin's route, and Rin appears last out of all of the main characters, girls here, so there's quite a bit of skipping to do before she makes her appearance. This is I never open both eyes, ever, not once. And Kenji's like, what's up, man? In my scene's amusing, too bad you're skipping them right now. Man, I haven't seen Shizune in a while because of Emmy's route. I mean, it was surprising that Misha made a reappearance, but Shizune didn't. Look how long these scenes are, man. Can you imagine if I was like, you know what, let's go through all of them again, even if it's got nothing to do with the character's route we're going with. At some point, I'll be like, it's a trap! And Shizune, if I recall, is like, what the hell, man? Attack aggressively. But I'll still go with this choice for now. I think for when we get around to Lily's route, maybe I'll make that choice, just to kind of be like, well, in your face, Shizune! Because they seem to have a bit of a kind of not very getting along with each other kind of thing. I haven't actually played either Shizune's route or Lily's route. Those are the only two routes aside from Kenji's route that I haven't actually played through. And of course, there's also, you know, bad endings, alternative endings, and all that. I haven't gone through it with any character except Emmy, and that was just like recently, wasn't it? I think it's the first choice as usual, but I'll check. Yep. Yeah, I wonder what that choice even leads to. Actually, let me just check something. Yeah, even in her own route, it's all the same. At some point, maybe I'll choose the other option. But for now, skip. If I recall, Emmy makes her appearance before Rin, and then not long after that, yeah, she was cute. And then I was like, hey, skip. Skipping through Kenji's scenes because he has some really out there dialogue. Reading the book. Interruption. You know, the drums are really loud on this track, I gotta say. I could hear it coming back up the stairs, man. What? Anybody, something catches my eye as I stop mid-sentence. That was a convenient kind of stop there, wasn't it? It's like, whoa, hold it. Right on time. Sitting on the desk is a short-haired girl, curiously wearing a boy's uniform with a hook between her toes and a morsel of food stuck firmly on the end. This odd way of dining seems to be caused by her bound like a man's, but her presence here is what takes me aback even more. How did I miss her before? She's sitting in the corner very still, but I still somehow take her as a part of the furnishing or a statue at first glance. I'm not being too observant today as a whole. The girl seems to be frozen in place, staring at me with her eyes like a rabbit in the headlights. She's staring at me, her eyes... It's like I was trying to wrap the whole thing, I don't know why or how. And then just like, the inevitable stumbling of my words. Can you imagine that actually rapping and like stumbling over your words? Just like, shit. But that wasn't a rap at all, it just sounded like the way I was reading it. She's staring at me, her mouth wide open, ready to accept the fork. So, since you kind of skipped through the scene up till this point, context. Misha was asking Muto about the festival thing and that they needed, was it paint, I think? Just like go to the art room and then, because Hisao was like, there's nothing for me to do, and then Muto and all is just like, aha! You'll be the one to go get the paint. And Misha's like, yeah, we need this one and this one, and then he went off to the art room, and he was like, anybody home? And then he sees her. I'm staring at her, my mouth wide open, suddenly remembering I didn't finish my sentence and trying to think if I should. This weird stalemate keeps us both stunned into silence, punctuated only by the wall clock ticking. Hello. The girl stuffs the fork full in her mouth and is now staring at me expectantly while chewing. This is a bit awkward. Hello, I was told to pick up some supplies from here for some festival stores, I think. I didn't think there would be some in the air. There isn't, that's why I came here too. She picks up an olive forkful. Doesn't that mean you're here then? She raises her eyebrows as if she was suspecting my observation was false. You are pretty observant, I guess it does, but who are you? This girl is pretty straightforward, isn't she? No. She is anything but that. She is a very odd person. Kinda like me, only odder, actually. I mean, I say some odd things myself, kind of like how Rin does at times, but not to that kind of level that Rin's. I'm the Kai, Rin just transferred in on Monday. I'm Rin Tezuka. I won't shake hands with you, but at least we know who we are now. That's very nice. Her deadpan manner of talking makes it hard to determine whether she's joking about shaking hands or not. We could shake sleeves if that's okay. She would totally add that. It kinda bothers me joking about these matters doesn't feel appropriate at all. While I'm trying to figure what's appropriate and how this girl is, she seems to have lost interest in me and is now gazing yearningly back at her food. Can I continue my lunch? If you don't mind me, I won't mind you. If you need to get your stuff, the supplies are at the back. Go right ahead, but lunch, school's already over for the day. What word would you use then? There's no word for a meal after I'm stumbling over words. There's no word for a meal you eat after lunch, but before dinner, right? It bothers me very much too, but I don't really know what I should say. I don't think you are supposed to eat a meal between lunch and dinner to begin with. I'm hungry now, and a delicious box lunch will go to waste otherwise. Have curry, it's very delicious. With much decisiveness, Rin once again picks up the fork between her toes, and with at least as much impoliteness, she points it straight at me. So Nakai, what brings you to this place? Like I said, I was told to look for these things. No, the school. From outside you look fine. Is your problem inside? I come to a full stop opening my mouth, but not getting the word out. I can guess. I am good at guessing. Better than most people. Rin cuts me off before I can answer a question or skirt around it somehow. I don't know which I would have done. I froze in front of this issue again. I haven't even told anyone here about my condition, or maybe it's certainly because it hasn't really come up. I do get the feeling that not making issues of this is part of the social code here, as the teacher said. I wonder if the people here could relate. Probably not any better than any normal person could. I can't relate to Shizune's circumstances or Lily's hour. Actually, while I go through this in my head, Rin keeps considering what my condition could be, with an oddly contemplative look on her face. She puts her fork between her lips and leans back, looking at the ceiling as if the answer was written up there. A beam of light illuminates her face from the window side, creating a mask of dark shadow on the other side. You know, this is kind of completely unrelated to this LP in general, but in my Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness LP, I mean, I've only, at this point in time, uploaded one part on the channel so far for it, but I've recorded literally 26 parts. It's, on par with this. That's why I stopped recording for it now. I recorded yesterday, but now I'm just no, I want to record more for this first, because it's just I want to keep it in that order, man, because I remember, I think it was in my Sims Busting Out LP, was so, in general, in terms of how many parts I've recorded in advance for various kind of LPs, this one was right at the top, and I want to keep it that way, you know? So it's well, slow down, man, I've only uploaded one part of the Pokemon LP, no need to go overkill on it, even if I am curious, because it's a blind LP, essentially, but anyway, to get to the point, there's a Pokemon in there that I keep pronouncing the name as, Illumise, for some reason, even though it's clearly Illume. You know, pronounced that way, because it's in its name, and it makes perfect sense, but I keep pronouncing it wrong regardless. That's not the first, and certainly not the last time that stuff like that happens. Ran for the Digimon World LP, and you that saw it, where sirloin was pronounced cerulean. I don't even know how that makes sense, but I'd pronounced it like that for years, because nobody had really corrected me, and I don't think I'd ever even actually heard the word pronounced properly. Or if I did, it completely went over my head. But anyway, enough rambling on that. Let's get back to the plot. I don't think it's anything in your head, and something in your guts would be boringly ordinary, like this lunch of mine, less delicious. Did you read the previous line? I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. The problem must be in your pants. This messed up Sherlock Holmes kind of statement and a sheer lack of tact is what delivered with catches me completely off guard. I think I might have reeled back even physically as Rin's eyes widened in revelation and astonishment. So I was right, there's something wrong with your tackle, isn't there? Still partially in shock, but recognizing the need to reply something, I spit out the first thing that I can think of. No, nothing like that, I have a heart problem, arrhythmia. I said it more like blurted it out, but I said it. The girl in front of me purses her lips together and glowers at me, looking very disappointed. How boring. Trouble in the pants would have been much more scandalous. What's with the reaction? I'm sorry to let you down. I forgive you, just I collect people, and a person with, that kind of problem would have been really great. Collect people? People with different problems. So you just, go around asking people what's wrong with them? Pretty much. I see. We have little left today. Rin resumes her lunch and the conversation dies away, but I keep thinking about what was said. But really, it's like I said the previous time we saw this thing. Can you imagine going up to people and just be like, what's wrong with you? Just like, I beg your pardon? What are you talking about exactly? Just like, be specific, but it's like, even if she was a bit more straightforward with it, just like, what's wrong with you physically or mentally or something like that, you just be like, piss off! I don't even know you! It's the first time I've told anyone else about my condition. All the people have either known about it, other people, or heard about it from someone else, or didn't need to know about it like every else knew so far. Should I have told it as a natural part of introductions? Is it expected of me? Hi, I'm a sow. I have a very serious heart condition. Is that how I'm supposed to go around introducing myself from now on? As if our disabilities would define us. What a disgusting thought. Or maybe this Tezuka girl just has an unnatural interest in such things. Bingo. As I walk to the back of the room to pick up the items on Misha's list, chance opens to study Rin from the corner of my eye. I can't really remember much of Rin's route. I just remember her personality throughout it all was kind of like... Well, I won't spoil it. Her hair is a burnt avon, almost orange, and cropped short. Long hair would probably be impossible with no arms. The boy's uniform and the lack of arms make her look very thin, almost scrawny. She is not particularly pretty except for her murky green eyes, which flicker arrestingly from below her short bangs even when she eats. The distance and the shadows make it seem like they don't reflect sunlight at all, but instead absorb all of it within them like deep wells. She moves her feet almost as deftly as a normal person would use their arms. Whenever I can see how this sight could discomfort people, especially while eating, it makes me feel a bit uncomfortable at least. I hesitate to think about the word unnatural, but it's too late now, isn't it? I keep searching the cabins and shelves for Misha's things, but after enough time passes, the silence grows too uncomfortable, and I try to force some conversation out of this strange girl. So, do you always eat alone and this late, or do you get the occasional visitor? Well, since we learned from Emmy's route, she tends to eat with Emmy, so I guess this must have been she must have been busy and was just like, I'm hungry though, so I'll eat now, or something, I don't know. Visitors, maybe you're my first occasional visitor, but I don't always eat alone either. Sometimes eat with a certain person on the roof if she's not horsing around. Horsing? She likes to do sports. That we know, because we've been through Emmy's route. Oh. And that's all I can think of to say. Over this false sound again as Rin folks the last bits of her meal to her mouth. I look down at my hole and double-check it with Misha's list. It seems I have everything except plywood. So I think I have all the things now. That's very nice for you. Don't feel obliged to stay. I was about to take a nap anyway. You need to do whatever you're going to do with that stuff anyway, right? Or perhaps you like to watch girls sleeping. I'm not sure what to make of this, but Rin looks serious. Even if I did, I think I have to be going. I'll catch you around, Tezuka. You can call me Rin. I feel that our relationship at this point is good enough to warrant this much. I was already turned to make my exit, but she draws me back in. Fine then, I'm a sow. Then you are. Rin looks at me hard in the eyes, but that intimidating feeling you get when someone stares at you isn't there. It's like she's actually not looking at me at all. She blinks a couple of times, and I can't figure out why a pause like this just popped between us out of nowhere. See you later, sow. There's something like a tiny smile there in her face, maybe. I can kind of relate to that. That must be how people feel around me sometimes. I could be staring in one direction, but I'll just be kind of spacing out, just kind of in my own little world. But I could be unintentionally staring at someone, but I try to kind of make it so my eyes don't focus on anyone. It focuses in a direction when nobody's right in, place of where my eyesight is directed, but it could still look like that, I imagine. I quietly back out of the room. As I shut the door in front of my face, I whisper to myself, fun, intriguing person. From inside I hear a muffled sing-song voice. I heard that. What did you hear? I jump at the sudden appearance of Misha, who I had not heard approaching despite the completely empty hallway. He always just said in a sing-song kind of voice, but I just like, every time it's like, try to voice Rin, it's always in a monotone, because that's pretty much how it's supposed to be depicted, isn't it? I jump at the sudden appearance of Misha while approaching despite the completely empty hallway. Somehow she had gotten to jumping distance of me without making a sound. Creepy. It briefly reminds me of Kenji's nutty theory about a global feminist conspiracy, but I pushed that thought aside. Shizune, standing slightly behind Misha, looks aloof as she couldn't have heard the remark that drew Misha's attention, but Misha is visibly excited. No, wait, more importantly, who is in there? There's no club meetings today. She tries to curiously peek past me, even though the door prevents her from seeing anyway. What are you doing here? You took so long that you had to come check. We had to come check what's wrong. That's no good, Hichan. She wags her fingers at me scoldingly. I found plywood, but everything else is still missing because you are tardy. Oh, sorry. I got the things, sir. Was just gonna bring them. I think you were up to some mischief, Hichan. Who was in there with you? I wonder. Misha signs something quickly to Shizune, pointing at her own ear a couple of times. Shizune immediately pushes away past me and opens the door into the classroom I just left. I can only imagine the shock she is experiencing. With Shizune's diligence and attitude, the insolence, the absolute insolence of daring to deface school poverty by saving our toppers must be too much to bear. And indeed, she stares at Rin, frozen in place apart from the slight but noticeable trembling of her shoulders from suppressed rage, I'm sure. Instead of blowing up, Shizune just takes a few deep breaths, adjusts her glasses, and slams the door shut, turning to silence fiercely at Misha. Well, technically she did blow up then, just like... Except without any sound, of course. Well, apart from the door slamming, maybe she did blow up, but I can't understand it. She shoots a very loaded stare at me too, as if it was somehow my fault that Rin is sleeping on one of the tables. I hope she's not getting any funny ideas about the reason of my tardiness. Hello. Rin's voice comes from the other side of the door, and it takes a few eye blinks to realize she might have trouble opening it. Open the door to find Rin directly behind it, looking at us with a half-interested, half-sleepy face. Hello. Miss Tezuka, what do you think you were doing? You absolutely are not permitted to use school property for such, disgraceful activity. It sure is suddenly very crowded in here. I didn't know I was this popular. It's hard to say well she's happy or unhappy about this turn of events. At any rate, she ignores Shizune and Misha's scolding, so they have no choice but to drop the issue. Shizune taps Misha's shoulders, points at Rin, and makes some quick signs. Popularity aside, please don't do that anymore. Anyway, how's your project going? Will it be done for the festival? Rin looks at them blankly, apparently at ease under the pressure Shizune's cold stare is putting on her. I keep wondering about that myself too. And? We'll think about it harder. As Misha signs a reply to Shizune, her face turns into an unsatisfied frown. Miss Tezuka, please try to take this seriously. It'll be a disaster if the wall looks like someone threw up their lunch onto it. Rin nods assertively. We'll think more seriously. Misha actually giggles at that, but Shizune doesn't, not even after translation. She just shakes her head, takes her materials from me, and takes off with Misha in tow. Rin frowns thoughtfully as she looks after the retreating student council duo. How rude. It's true though, I must finish my project before the weekend. There will be dire consequences if I don't. The end of the world as we know it. Like weekends usually are, but more dire. Much more dire. Maybe I'll postpone my nap to an unforeseen future. I'm about to ask what projects she has and what are these apocalyptic consequences, but she walks back into the art classroom. Since you have nothing to do, would you give me a hand? This paint can doesn't fit into my bag, but I need it. She kicks slightly at a huge can of paint that's lying on the floor next to the table she was sitting and sleeping on. It lets out a dull clang. Being the gentleman I am, I naturally pick it up. Heavy. Yeah, sure, why do you need to take it? away. And with that, she takes off to the hallway, me and the paint can following since there's little choice for all of us. The hallway is quiet and empty now, which is only a Michigan, so we two leave towards the stairwell at the other side. Well, end. Same thing. Every 10 or 15 or 20 steps, I have to change the can from hand to another because the thin handle cuts into my palm. At least it keeps my arms from tiring too fast. Rin strolls on beside me with an uneven pace that I have trouble matching. Or maybe I'm walking weird because of the extra weight. It seems one of us is constantly walking too slow or too fast, and I can't figure out which. 2 flights of stairs below, trouble appears in the form of the head nurse and his fox-like grin. Ah, Mr. Nakai, what a happy coincidence. Tezuka too, of course. He nods curtly to Rin, who does not acknowledge him back, then turns to me, because obviously it's me who he had some business with. There's something I forgot to mention on Monday. I nod and wait impassively because I can't even begin to guess what he forgot. The feeling of the handle delving deeper into my skin doesn't make me feel enthusiastic about this interruption either. It's about your medication. Since you haven't been that long on your current medications, there might be some unexpected side effects, which might require adjusting dosing or even changing to another kind of medication. So we will do a few tests regularly. But what I'd want is for you to keep an eye on everything in your condition that feels off, if you get what I mean. Nausea, headache, anything, and just come see me if something happens. Alright. So, how are you? Everything fine? I give up and drop the can to the floor before answering him. Apparently this takes longer than my biceps can handle. I'm about to say something generic as an answer, but then I realize how often I've done that lately. Well, people have asked me that too, teachers and students here, my parents, visitors, nurses, doctors at the school, hospital, I mean. Everyone seems to be concerned about that. It's natural for a hospital, not so much for a school. Except this school. This is a small school, and both the student base and the faculty seem to be very tightly knit. At least that's the feeling I'm getting. This is not the kind of school that gets transfer students too often. The thought sends shivers up my spine, but I give a generic answer anyway. That's great. Also, one other thing. My sources tell me that you've been at neither the school track nor even the pool, so I'd like to know if you have taken up exercising as I asked. Of course I haven't, but his way of inquiring gives me the feeling that I should have been running my ass off on the track since the very first day. You have people spying on me? Not as such, I just happen to know a few people, but that's not the issue here, so don't try to slip out of it. Well, I was actually just doing some improvised weightlifting as an exercise. I pick up and lift the can up and down a few times like some sad imitation of a bodybuilder, even though it's weighed down on my arms painfully. The stupid grin disappears from his face for a second, then comes back like it was never gone. Tezuka, would you give us a second? The nurse grabs me by the shoulder without waiting for Rin's permission, which he didn't need in the first place, and drags me aside. When I told you to exercise, I wasn't joking. I understand that you're still on your first week and all, but please don't ignore the importance of this. The reason I'm coming down this hard on you is that habits are not easy to form. The more you slip and postpone, the harder it'll be. It's the same with everything, like dieting. And like I said last time, very true. Last time I hadn't even been to the gym since the start of the year. I since have. Like, once or twice. It's like 2 months into the new year. I've only been to the gym once or twice. Yeah, it really is kind of hard to make, a habit of, actually going to the gym on a regular basis. I mean, other things are much easier now. When it comes to exercise, and that's one of those things that's hard to get into a routine for, unless you're actually, the type that really loves to exercise and all that, then it's a piece of cake. But if you're the type that's kind of just sees it as kind of a kind of mundane kind of chore thing where it's like, oh, if I have to kind of thing, then it's kind of hard to actually get into a routine for it because it feels tedious to do so, even if it is important or, just generally a good thing to do. Can you promise me to be more serious about this from now on? Let's see what answer this route has. Well, it has the same old, probably for every route. I wonder what maybe would have. It'd probably have him just be like, don't bullshit me, so how you do this now? But, if I recall, every route that I've gone through, which is technically only 3 routes, it always tends to be the case where he'll go there once or twice or something like that, but then he'll just kind of forget all about it, and suddenly it's like nothing's really comes of it. Except for Emmy's right, of course. Yeah, I promise, definitely. He studies me for a moment and then shrugs, smiling again. Okay, that's more like it. If you go to the school track tomorrow morning, you'll meet my spy, who probably has no qualms offering consolation to you if you want to jog a bit. Consolation? See you around. Well, you know, Emmy, she likes to run a lot. So he'll just be like, you mean like, I don't know. He leaves with a wave of his hand and no answer, and I walk to Rin, who has been waiting idly, leaning against the hallway wall and staring at the pale lighting fixtures in the ceiling. Even when I approach, she doesn't move her eyes off them. Are you getting medication for your heart thingy? Were you listening? Comes out more, I think I stumbled on this word last time as well. Accusatory than I intended, accidentally lashing out on her. But even so, I don't really want to start talking about it. I just met her. I don't know her. It's not her business. The nurse seems to be happily ignorant about confidentiality, too, talking about that kind of thing in public. But it's not Rin's fault, is it? I look up at her, suddenly feeling a bit guilty, but Rin is just staring past my shoulder quizzically, her head tilted like a bird's. Sigh. I don't know why this is so hard for me. It feels like this is some inexplicable lock that prevents me from being more upfront about this. Yeah, they're for my heart. Will they make you better? No, not really. They just make me feel a little less worse. Well, technically that's an improvement, I suppose. Rin keeps looking at me for a while longer, and she neither says anything further nor displays any kind of emotion I could describe. I'm thankful that she doesn't. I think I'm still not quite used to all this. At the hospital it was easy, but I still haven't sorted my feelings about having to live a normal life with this disability. We leave the main building and Rin leads us onwards towards the door. We stop at the small patch of greenery in front of the dome building. Hang on a second there. Oh, well, that also does it. Doesn't that look like that one meme face? I'm not even sure what the name of the meme is, but it totally looks like it. Or it simply just reminds me of it. The dome is built on a slightly elevated ground with a wall and a few trees that everyone has to circle around every time they come or go. It's probably the only inconvenient design in the school. The entire wall, made of the same kind of bricks as the building itself, has been covered with some sort of a painting. Most of it is still mere sketches, quick lines drawn with black and white against a grey plastering that covers almost the entire length of the wall. But some places look a bit more finished. There are human faces and legs and hands, and I can't quite say what the painting as a whole might portray. Stacks of what seem to be paint cans are arranged in piles on the ground beside the wall. See, the left side is hardly off the ground yet. It's because I couldn't get in the mood yesterday, so I gave up and went to meditate. I almost said meditate then. Well, that's all a meditite ever seems to do is meditate, but meditate instead, then it was suddenly morning. I have to work on it, but the guys from art class are helping with the negative spaces and base surfaces whenever, which is a problem. It's easier to paint big areas if there are a lot of people with hands. Reach is better and it's faster too. She goes on a tangent or of a tangent, waving a little with her arm or whatever of it there actually is to demonstrate, even though I get the point already. The white cotton of her sleeve flaps around and it makes me think it could look sadder than it does. But it makes me feel out of place, like almost every tangible reminder of the student base's special properties has in the past few days. You know what it's like? In life, it's like, you know, if someone had, like, you know, grew up with someone that, you know, had no arms, or they themselves had no arms, it'd be kind of like perfectly normal. If they saw someone else with no arms, they wouldn't just be like, oh my god, that's weird. They'd just be like, hey, that person's got no arms either. Instead of just like freaking out about it like Kasao's kind of, but he's not really freaking out in that kind of what the fuck kind of way, but in just like I feel out of place here kind of way. But if he'd like known people with these disabilities all his life, it would seem perfectly normal. But because like he's just been around people that don't have these disabilities, that he doesn't really associate with being normal because he's not used to it. This girl doesn't notice my dreary feelings, of course, or the fact that she lost me a while ago already, and just keeps on blabbering. So that's why I'm trying to figure out if there's something I need to figure out, and then figure that out before it's too late and all hope is lost. Why would the hope be lost? Because paint has to be painted, and then it has to dry, and then it has to be painted over with another kind of paint. It takes time. She finally stops, apparently thinking she made some kind of a statement that makes sense. I think it's best to start from the top. So this is your project. You did this? Yes. All of it? Yes. Nice, but I stumble with my words, suddenly feeling like I've walked straight into the minefield of political incorrectness. It's okay, you can say it. I probably won't get mad. I blush really hard. I don't really know what would be the right thing to say, if any. It feels that I'm way more sensitive than Rin is, though. This is really awkward. What do you want to ask? How do you paint without hands? See, I'm an easy person to talk to, right? With my feet. I almost guessed that already, but isn't that hard to do? You're good at guessing anyway. I don't think it is, but maybe I'm used to it by now. I can't get my mind around the fact that she could be an artist, but seeing how adept she was using her feet to eat, I figure painting might not be a problem either. I've never attempted to paint with my feet before, but I have opened gates and doors using my foot when I've got my hands full, all out of general laziness. So I can do that, at least. It all comes down to getting used to it, I suppose, adapting. Neither of us has anything more to add to the subject. The afternoon light works pretty well. I was afraid it would look too flat, but it's not like that after all. I think it's actually pretty interesting. I wanted to see what it looks like in dim light. Do you think it's flat? Yeah, well, paintings tend to be flat. Not like that flat, flat like some people are. No substance, no meat, where there should be some. I know a few girls who, okay, I get it, but I couldn't really tell. Not that good, but I can't name many artists or artistic terms. Neither can I. Well, when it comes to, music, I think I said this last time as well. Music seen as an art, so, yeah, fair enough with that. And there's still kind of a lot of musical terms go over my head. It's like when my guitar tutor talks about, musical terms, sometimes this goes right over my head, but other times it's makes sense. It's like solving a complex math equation and then realizing that it's not really all that complex, but you feel like, yes, I understand it, I am the champion. Then another one comes up and you're just fuck. It's back to just having your mind boggled by how much there is to learn. So I don't really have anything to say. Rin shrugs her shoulders at that, saying suit yourself without saying it, and looks up at the sky as if trying to look for something up there. I didn't think I'd get any actual work done, but if you give me a hand with the paints, I could do a little before it's too dark. I wanted to get a halogen lamp like the ones they have at the sports track, but there aren't any. Rin sure is quick to recruit my help. As with Shizune, it really makes me feel that the festival is such a big project that every pair of hands is needed. Why not? I'm not really sure if I could be of any help, though. It's just mixing some paints. You can do that, probably. Do you have motor control problems those people who have some? Cerebral palsy, maybe? Not that I know of. I get it. Heart thingy has nothing to do with that. She gives me a sly look for no reason. No it doesn't. Let's do it then. So she sits on an empty wooden box and very naturally picks up a wide brush between the toes of her bare right foot. It makes me wonder if there were ever somehow an anime adaptation of this. I wonder what the voices would sound for each character. Because if you're gonna have someone voice act for Rin, you'd have to actually make it in character with her, which is she speaks in more of a monotone voice, but there probably are points in her route where the monotone suddenly changes, probably, I'd imagine. Open a few of the cans and pour some of the contents into shallow bowls for mixing. The thick paints flow lazily from the can to the bowl like syrup. I mix them, creating funny, hypnotic-looking swirl patterns that melt quickly into each other to form a new monotone hue. You know, I was just thinking there, just like, I wonder what it must be like for a painter to paint while high off their ass, and then I thought, well, that's happened quite a lot of times with painting for... Around history, it's bound to have been a lot of people that have, like, painted some really bizarre stuff, and it's like, so... How did you paint this bizarre stuff? He's just like, yo, I just got high and just like painted it. But I wonder how much artwork has been done like while high. Or whether it's just like, no man, I wasn't even high at all when I painted this bizarre surreal image. It just came to mind is all. I mean, my mind doesn't need, you know, like to get high to be like, you know, like, ah yes, let's paint this bizarre imagery that's out there, man. Mine just does it without that. Yeah, I read that. Rin sets to work every now and then, asking me for a hand for something or the other. Finding different brushes is easy enough, but mixing the paints to be the exact tone this goes apparently sitting in her head is a frustrating ordeal. She wants precision down to the last milliliter before she is satisfied, but her instructions are pure at best. Add half a splash of green. I crouch down to pick up the can of bright green. Yellow green, this green. I carefully pour some of the yellow green paint into the mixing bowl. Oh, that's almost a whole splash. Oh, why? Is green a good color to add? No idea, you're the artist here. A hint of a smile appears in the corners of her mouth. You lack an opinion. No, it's just that I have no idea. It's okay, because I just got an idea. Add more white. With this explanation, I pour a minuscule amount of white into the bowl and mix it. It looks slightly lighter. That's not good. It has to be like the color when you wake up and you know that you saw the meaning of life in your dream but can't remember it. Maybe it's yellow. Despite the impossibility of mixing a color like the change of seasons or any other nonsense that's being imposed on me, I find myself enjoying it more than I thought I would. Seeing a painting being blown on the plastered wall feels like magic. I spend the moments I have between mixing paints, crouching down on the paving, and just looking at her work. It feels slightly intrusive at first, like breaking some imaginary intimacy, but Rin doesn't seem to mind the least bit. Maybe it's just in my head. Her entire presence emits a completely different air as she patiently works the details, adding layers of paint on top of other layers of paint, steadily moving her foot across the wall to add new shapes. When I managed to produce a passable mixture of paint... that sneeze. You remember like a couple of times in my LPs I've like talked how my sneeze sounds like a hamster. Well, there it was right there. When I managed to produce a passable mixture of paint, the rare smile on her face is oddly rewarding. No, she's smiling because she's like, haha, what was that? That was a hamster sneeze. Apart from the few words when discussing paint mixes, neither of us says a word for the longest time. That's a bizarre thing with sneezes, though. My freaking sneezes sound like a freaking hamster or something. I don't know why. I always compare it to like that. And then there are people that have those over-the-top sneezes, like, ah! It's kind of like everyone has a variety of sneezes. Like, everyone sneezes a bit different. And even though short discussions soon evolve into a shorthand, both of us developing and using weird impromptu code words for various paints and hues, and I don't know why I keep going to the accents randomly. As if there was some need to conserve words and even sound. We stay there late into the evening until it becomes too dark to paint properly.